Hello everybody, I'm not sure if I'm live yet. Hello. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's so good to be into 2026. How was your New Year, everybody? I hope you had a beautiful rest. Sometimes it's a bit chaotic at Christmas, I can all agree, everyone can agree, but hopefully the New Year is giving you a chance to press pause. What we're going to be doing in this live today is going through how to keep New Year's resolutions. Because how many of us start the new year with reflection and thinking, I am now going to step into a new version of myself. And then we start to set these lofty goals, like I'm going to lose 20 kilos, I'm going to start running a marathon, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to change my relationship, I'm going to quit my job and start a new career, study some things. And do you know how long these resolutions usually last? I think I read somewhere until about the 7th of January, and I think we're at the 6th of January today. So if your resolutions drop off tomorrow, don't be surprised, because you're probably the same as the entire planet. And here's why. Number one, we often set too many goals in too many areas. And who would agree that if I wanted to change my diet, start running, change my relationship, start a new career, study a new thing, I'd probably be a little bit overloaded. So usually it is that we've set goals that are too numerous, or we've set a goal that's high without figuring out the steps to get there. So let's go through now some ways in which we can start to actually cement and solidify our New Year's resolutions, so we can actually step into better versions of ourselves as women, but also as leaders. And I was talking to one of my coaching clients just this week about her New Year's resolutions, and I noticed two different conversations that happened, and this is what inspired this live. One of her resolutions was that she was wanting to get fit because she was about to have knee surgery, so she'd booked a personal trainer. So I'd like you to listen to that sentence. I want to get fit because I'm about to have knee surgery. So I've taken the first step and booked a personal trainer. So she's listed what she wanted, she's listed why she wanted it, and then she listed the first step. I asked her on her next goal, and that was to be less reactive. And who wouldn't love to be less reactive in life, right? When we're reactive to the things and circumstances around us, whether it's our family, whether it's our team, whether it's our business, there's lots of reasons that we can start to become annoyed and agitated. It's not a comfortable place to be, and we know we're not operating at our best. But there was no action plan for that, and there was no reason. So there was kind of like, well, I'd like to be less reactive, but I'm not sure how to get that goal. So that was a perfect outline, because what it's outlined to me, and this is what a lot of the research shows as far as motivation, is number one, we need a really big why. Why do you want to get fit? Because I'm about to have knee surgery. Why do you want to be less reactive? I don't know, it's probably going to be better. Yeah, but for who? For what purpose? So one of the most important first steps, so this is step number one, is to deeply clarify your why. If you don't have a why, if you just want to lose weight for no reason, you won't have enough pull through the difficult times. You'll wake up at 6 o'clock to go to the gym and think, well, bed's probably a bit more comfortable. But if you have a big enough why, it creates a pull. And this is a lot of the work of Simon Sinek, if anyone knows him. And he talks a lot about really developing the why is the biggest thing. So if you've set a goal for yourself, whatever that looks like, the first step you need to set to try and maintain motivation for that is to write down why you want it. So whether you want it because you want to feel more, you want to feel healthy, you want improved energy, that could be a reason. That's a great reason why. Whether it's that you want to be able to build a better relationship with someone specifically, that's a great reason why. So number one is to find out what your why is. Now, I do this in a lot of detail in the Rise Up program, is really digging deep and finding out what women's values actually are. So once we know what's important to us, we can start to create and generate our own why. And that really is the essence of selfish leadership. And I'm starting to talk about this a little bit more. Selfish leadership is choosing what's important to you. And very often we layer everybody else's needs on top and soon we lose what is important to us. So I go through a process to dig very deep on that. But for now, in your New Year's resolutions, if you've written anything down, the first step is just to, why? Write down your why. The next step is then to break it down into actionable steps. Now, what I mean by that is the reason that if I want to lose 20 kilos, run a marathon, start a new career, change my relationship, the reason that sometimes doesn't work, not only is it too numerous, so I always suggest with a New Year's resolution, 1 or 2 things is enough. Like, we can't do more than that. But the next thing is, if you can imagine a ladder leaning up against a building and you want to get to the second floor. If you're just looking at the top rung, you're probably looking at that thinking, there's no way on earth I'm actually going to make that. That's just too big a leap. I want to lose 20 kilos. That's too hard. But part of it in creating actionable steps is to realize that there's lots of small ladder rungs along the way. So it might be, okay, my goal is 20 kilos, but my first goal is 1 kilo. So step number 1, find your why. Make sure that you're very clear on why you want to do this. It'll maintain momentum, means that when you're having a bad day, when it's cold, when you don't feel so great, you'll keep going anyway. Step number 2, break it down into small actionable steps. What's the first step? So the first step for my client was to just call a personal trainer. She hasn't been to the gym yet, she just called them. That's the first step. And so then that brings me to my next part of that. So step number 3 is learning to celebrate small milestones. I don't think we celebrate enough. We don't celebrate enough. We get bogged down in all of the difficulties in life, and I've been there. I'm going to own that. I don't think that that's a bad thing to acknowledge difficulties, but then we forget that when we have joy, we can actually celebrate that. And so very often when you have a big goal and you make small steps toward that, you think to yourself, well, I'll celebrate that when I get there. So can you imagine if you wanted to lose 20 kilos, and I've just pulled that number out of the sky, of course, but if you wanted to lose 20 kilos, if you'd lost 15, would you agree that that's something to celebrate? But some people are of the mindset that I'm not going to celebrate until I actually get my goal, which means that everything feels like a push rather than a pull. So step number 1, find your why. And step number 2, break it down into actionable steps. Step 3, actually celebrate the small steps along the way. Yay, I lost 2 kilos. Or yay, I've lost 3. I'm not at my goal yet, but I'm celebrating and giving myself a high five along the way. Because there's nothing like a high five, little dopamine hit that helps the brain and the nervous system to keep going, even when things are hard. Now, there's one extra thing that I wanted to add here. And before I go further, and this little piece is a essential piece of information, I believe, but before I go further, I will be hosting a masterclass next week, totally free. I will send you some DMs, but if anyone wants access to the masterclass, How to Lead Without Losing Yourself, that's going to be next Wednesday or Thursday. I have to find out the date. I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but I will write it down. I'll send the invite, but if you're interested in how to lead without losing yourself this year, please type workshop in the bottom and I'm happy to share that with you. So the final little piece that's really helpful when you're generating momentum to maintain your New Year's resolutions. Find your why, small action steps, celebrate along the way. The next thing is to focus on the feeling that you think it's going to bring you. Now, the reason I share this is based on the work of Danielle Laporte. For those who don't know her, I love her. She's amazing. And she often talks about how our feelings actually drive us. So if you can imagine, just say imagine my goal is to buy a Ferrari. And I might save up in my 50s, in my 60s, in my 70s, I might save my entire life to buy the Ferrari. And when I'm 90 and I finally have enough money, I go to the car sales dealership and I get my keys and I pop the key in the ignition and I drive my Ferrari out there, drive it down the street. You can imagine that Ferrari makes me feel a certain way. It might be abundant, it might be powerful, it might be important, there might be a number of feelings. But you could almost imagine that it's not the Ferrari that I want, but it's the feeling that I think it's going to create. And maybe, just maybe, if I know how I want to feel, I can do that without having to save for 90 years for a Ferrari. So the reason I share this is if your goals are closely linked to how you want to feel, I want to feel vibrant and healthy, and then therefore I'm going to go to the gym. If I know how I want to feel and that pulls me, that's a really, really magnetic pull. So I go through a process on figuring out how you want to feel, and that's a great process. I did that in a New Year's workshop. I'll also be doing it in upcoming retreats this year, but that really helps solidify pull rather than push energy when it comes to motivation. Anyway, so I hope that's been a helpful short live for you guys. Really looking forward to a masterclass next week. Don't forget to type masterclass if you want access to that. Just a 60 to 90 minute totally free class, which will help set you up this year on how to lead without losing yourself in the messiness of everything that can happen when you're in leadership. So look forward to that. Have a great day, everybody.